morning, world. I'm out here this morning on Lake Huron on the eastern side of Michigan. This is one of my favorite spots to surf that I've found so far. It's kind of a little bit of a secret spot. Not a lot of people know about it. I came out here to test a few things. You know, as you may know, recently we moved up to Michigan and I've started surfing the Great Lakes here, which is really fun. But I came out here today to test a new lens I got for an upcoming documentary I want to make. I recently had the idea to start working on a documentary about Great Lake surfing, connecting with different Great Lake surfers in the area. You know, the goal is I want to have sort of one surfer from each Great Lake, and I've already connected with a few of them. Things are already starting to move in a good direction with the documentary. And I realized before I go out and get any actual surfing footage of people that I don't have a true telephoto lens, and I need to be able to, for this documentary, stand on the beach and shoot out, you know, as far as like the farthest wave would be that someone would catch. Eventually, I think I want to invest in some, you know, EF glass. Like Canon just makes awesome telephoto lenses, and convert that to my Fuji. But for now, I didn't have the cash to drop on that, and so what I bought was a Fujifilm XC 50 to 230 telephoto lens, and I've got it on this rig here, and this is what we're gonna try out today. So I've got the Fujifilm X-T3, and I wanted to use this because the X-T4, which I love and I use for most things, the X-T4 has the IBIS in it, and it also has like the screen that flips out, which for this kind of rig I don't really need. I also don't need IBIS because I'm running a heavier rig, and Fujifilm's IBIS has a tendency to like kind of jump and glitch back and forth when you're using it, when you're making more exaggerated motions, which I will be if I'm tracking someone on a wave. I'm going to test the autofocus with it today, even though I don't have any subjects. But then I've also got a nice little follow focus on this rig. So, you know, probably when I'm actually shooting, I'll be in manual focus. And then we're running all that into the Atomos Ninja 5 mainly for monitoring. I'm going to see what I can get and just, you know, with this telephoto lens, see how far out I can get if I'm going to track somebody in a wave. Also, I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I brought my paddleboard, and if I can find a spot that's not too icy to load the paddleboard in, I might go for a paddle this morning as well. So, yeah, thanks for joining me on this weird, like, different filmmaking vlog type video. I'm excited about the documentary. I'm excited to see what this lens can do. Hopefully it does well. Let's try it out. I'm really trying to test like movement on these waves. So there's a wave right here coming in. Wow. Dude, those geese have got to be cold. So not exactly the fast tracking I was looking for, but I can track these geese, so. Okay. I'm actually gonna, just for kicks and giggles, jump into photo mode here. All right, so there you have it, the Fujifilm 50-230 XC lens. And this is the first XC series lens that I've owned. Yeah, I never really imagined myself buying an XC lens because I guess it's like their cheaper model, but I really didn't want to drop $1,200 on a telephoto lens. So yeah, I picked this guy up for, I want to say it was like under $300. You know, it definitely feels, the whole thing is plastic. It's not weather sealed. You know, it's kind of small for a telephoto lens. They don't even give you a real lens cap. They give you this little weird halfway translucent thing. And then when you extend it, it looks kind of goofy. But yeah, so we'll start with the negatives, because a lot of people are probably expecting there to be some negatives with this lens. And then I'll just work my way to my actual experience from it. So one negative I would say, besides this weird lens cover, it's not a constant aperture lens, which I wouldn't expect it to be down at that price point. So this is a 4.5 to 6.7 aperture. So 4.5 at 50, and it gets to 6.7 once you're out at the extended 230 millimeter range. Now, I didn't have any issues with that, because, you know, the reality is, especially for what I'm gonna use this for, I'm gonna be shooting during the day. Even if it's at sunrise, I still think that the 6.7 aperture is gonna be fine. Because the reality is, if I'm shooting at sunrise or sunset for the surfing documentary, I'm gonna be getting silhouettes from people, and that's gonna be a cool vibe anyway. So I'm not gonna need to like crank the ISO. I'll expose for the highlights. I wish it would stay at 4.5. I feel like that wouldn't be that hard to do, rather than to jump up randomly to 6.7. But you get what you pay for, and I definitely didn't pay much for this. Now, if I really wanted to get after it, I would pay for the Canon f2.8. Yeah, I would say it's a negative that it has a variable aperture. I've been trying to move away from zoom lenses with variable apertures, but it's not a complete negative, because I think it still works. That's all I've got for the negatives. Maybe, I guess the only other negative is because this adapter, the mount is plastic. So no weather sealing, plastic mount, plastic cover, variable aperture. Other than that, I would say this lens is a phenomenal lens for both video and photo. I will say, maybe they should have gone in the negative section. It struggled a little bit with autofocus when I was on the long range. When I was at 230, it had to hunt a little bit. Sometimes when I was doing those bird tracking shots, I would have to start, you know, wider out, get them in focus, and then bring it in to get them to be able to track those birds while they were flying. But I will say, once it's locked into focus, if you've got your settings right on your camera, I think it's fine. And what I was doing, you know, I had the shot of like the reeds and then the rock behind it, and kind of did like a tap to autofocus where it switched from the reeds to the rock. And what I did for that is, I've got the focusing speed in my Fuji, I've got it set to -3, and then I have the tracking set to like a strong grip on tracking. For me, like if I'm gonna be filming people surfing, tap to focus, they're on their board, they're on a wave, and I want it to track them the whole time. I don't wanna, you know, veer off focus at all. So I've got it set to really lock in that tracking, and then I have it set to a really slow autofocus speed, because if I want to do some B-roll stuff and I don't feel like manual focusing, I can just do a little shot, tap to focus, and you'll get like a nice smooth focus pull. So that's when I do that, and I think for this lens it worked out really well, even with the autofocus. Originally I was thinking buying this lens that like the autofocus would basically just be unusable, but it was pretty usable, especially when you're doing the tap to autofocus stuff. This lens focused better than my 16-80 that Fujifilm makes, which is a higher end lens than this. And it focuses better than my Viltrox 33mm. So yeah, I would say autofocus, not terrible. Another pro is that it does have built-in stabilization. On my X-T3, there's no IBIS, and I want to shoot with that for this documentary intentionally. Number one, because I'm building out a rig, a big rig like you saw, and it'll naturally be heavier and have some stabilization built in. Number two, because when I'm doing that type of documentary work, like handheld type work, IBIS just gets in the way, and I feel like it does some weird jitter things that I don't like. So if I want the handheld look, I don't want IBIS. However, this has image stabilization in the lens, and this works great with that rig and with the handheld look, because it just smooths everything out a little bit, but it doesn't do the weird like jittery digital compensation thing like IBIS would do. Yeah, so I think stabilization on here is definitely a plus. As far as the optics go and the image quality, I don't know like what quality of glass they're putting in this lens compared to some of their other lenses, but I will say that I was pretty impressed with the image quality. I mean, you guys saw the footage that was just shot in the Eterna profile. I was at 6.7 aperture almost the whole time, because I was zoomed all the way in almost the whole time. Image I felt was very sharp, like you saw with those birds, tracking those birds in 4K, like that. It produced a really sharp image, even zoomed in like that. It also has, because it's such a long range lens, it does have a nice like separation with the depth of field, and you don't need a really wide aperture to get that on a telephoto lens. I would say, man, the image quality was great. I think I'll definitely be shooting at least the first leg of my documentary with this lens, and if I start to notice problems or things come up in the future, I might think about investing in something else. But I think for now, if you're looking to get a telephoto lens for your Fuji system and you've never gotten a telephoto lens before, which is my case, I've never owned one, I would say this is a good entry level into the telephoto world. Now, it doesn't look super sexy, it's kind of, like I mentioned, it's kind of funny. When it's sticking out, it just looks kind of small and weird, and it's got a hood with it, and then when you extend that, it looks even weirder. But that doesn't look bad right there. And reality is, for me, I'm using it in a matte box with a cage, and so nobody ever sees the lens anyway, so that's just a small thing. Highly recommend, bang for your buck. I think this is a great telephoto lens. I'm continually impressed with Fuji as they continue to improve on their autofocusing in their lenses. This is a newer lens they just came out with, and yeah, I think it's good. I think it's gonna work for my needs. Let me know what you guys think about this lens. Do you have any experience with it? Put it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the video, what kind of content you'd like to see in the future. We'll see you guys next time.